Greetings, and welcome back to this space of quiet contemplation. Today we turn our attention to a familiar, often uncomfortable sensation, the emotion of impatience. On the spiritual path, many of us perceive impatience as a hindrance, a sign of our lack of progress, of failing. We believe it is something to be overcome, to be eradicated from our being. But what if this very impatience, this restless stirring within, is not an enemy to our peace, but an unexpected guide, an underappreciated ally, a profound teacher inviting us into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the very nature of this present moment? What if the resistance we feel is simply the ego's protest against the unfolding of life as it is, in its own perfect timing? This exploration is not about finding clever techniques to suppress impatience, for suppression only buries the energy deeper. Instead, we will look directly at it, with gentle awareness, to understand its message. We will uncover how this seemingly disruptive force, when met with presence, can become a powerful catalyst for spiritual growth, how it can illuminate the corners of our mind where we cling to expectations, where we resist the flow of what is, and where we are most deeply identified with the incessant demands of the egoic self. The journey is to transform this raw energy, not through struggle, but through conscious recognition and acceptance. In keeping with our channel's purpose, we aim to draw your attention, in simple language and clear reasoning, to how what you see as an obstacle may, upon being examined under the light of mystical awareness, be made a bridge to greatness and transformation. Together let us explore how impatience, rather than being a block, can serve as a crucial signal, a call to awaken more fully to the now. We will see how it can refine our ability to accept, to act with wisdom, to cultivate compassion, and ultimately to experience the profound peace that is always available when we cease to argue with divine wisdom. This is an invitation to view impatience not as a flaw, but as a doorway to a more authentic and present existence. Let us begin this inquiry with open hearts and minds and see the ways in which this emotional state is a door to our betterment if entered with wisdom. When the feeling we call impatience arises, it is often because the untrained ego has created a script, a timeline for how things should be. It has attached itself to a specific outcome, a desired future moment, and it perceives the present as an obstacle, a delay to that imagined satisfaction. Observe this within yourself. Notice how impatience is almost always linked to wanting something else, something different from what this moment is offering. It is a resistance to the isness of this present moment, the now. This resistance is the very essence of suffering. This is a subtle or not-so-subtle declaration that the present moment is somehow deficient and not good enough. It is for this reason that I urge you to pause for a moment and observe the impatience that may be building up within you, as your untrained ego prompts you to either move on or stop watching this video. This moment I have just demonstrated to you is exactly why this video was inspired. Take note of that event that just passed and remember it all the days of your spiritual journey. Whatever you realized at that moment deep down, it is the obstacle you should always be aware of and gently smile at, overcome, and continue your spiritual journey towards enlightenment. To the untrained and unaware mind, impatience is a trickster, a thief of evolution. However, the tables turn once you are aware and can use it to your advantage. The spiritual path invites us to become aware of these hidden attachments, these unconscious demands we place upon life, upon others, and upon ourselves. Impatience acts like a bright light, suddenly illuminating these deeply ingrained patterns. When you feel that familiar tightening, that urge to rush, to control, to force an outcome, pause, ask within, what am I truly attached to in this moment? What expectation is not being met? What imagined future am I valuing more than the reality of this now? This inquiry is not for judgment but for gentle, compassionate observation. The ego thrives in the unobserved, but its power diminishes in the light of conscious awareness. See impatience not as a personal failing, but as a signal from a deeper part of you, indicating where your freedom is being compromised by unconscious clinging. It points to where you are still caught in the illusion of time, believing that your peace or fulfillment lies in some future attainment, rather than in the spaciousness of this present awareness. Each pang of impatience therefore becomes an opportunity for self-discovery, a chance to loosen the grip of these attachments and to find a deeper grounding in the timeless reality of your being, which is always here, always complete, regardless of external circumstances or the mind's projections. Impatience as a call to surrender. Impatience at its core is a profound non-acceptance of the present moment. It is the ego's declaration that this should not be happening, or this should be happening differently, or faster. This resistance to what is creates an inner friction, a state of unease that we label impatience. When this sensation arises, it is a direct invitation to practice the art of acceptance, the deep surrender to the wisdom of life, which always unfolds in its own perfect, often inscrutable rhythm. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity in the face of all circumstances, but rather an inner yes to the reality of this moment, as it is. Consider that the universe, in its vast intelligence, operates on principles far beyond our limited human comprehension. Our impatience often stems from a belief that we know best, that our timeline is the correct one. Surrender, in this context, is the recognition of a higher intelligence at play. It is allowing the form of this moment to be as it is, without internal warfare. When impatience surfaces, see it as a reminder. Here's an opportunity to let go of my agenda, my limited perspective, and to trust the unfolding. This surrender is not to a person or an external force, but to the inherent rightness of the now. This practice transforms impatience from a source of agitation into a sacred space for deepening your connection to being. Each time you consciously choose acceptance over resistance, you diminish the ego's power and strengthen your access to inner peace. It is a moment-by-moment practice. You may feel the pull of impatience, the mind screaming for a different reality, and yet you can choose to breathe into it, to allow the feeling to be there without being consumed by it, and to say, "This moment is as it is. I accept it." In that acceptance, a profound shift occurs. The energy of impatience, no longer fueled by resistance, begins to dissolve, revealing the stillness that was always underneath. The energy that manifests as impatience is, in itself, neutral. It is life energy, a vital force. The discomfort arises from our interpretation of it, our resistance to it, and the way the ego attempts to use it to manipulate reality according to its desires. When this restless energy surfaces, instead of immediately labeling it bad or trying to suppress it, the invitation is to first acknowledge its presence with awareness, feel its texture, its intensity, without judgment. This simple act of allowing creates a space between the energy and your reaction to it. Once this space of awareness is established, you can then inquire whether this energy is signaling a need for action. Not the reactive, frantic action born from the ego's fear or desire, but a calm, aligned action that arises from the intelligence of the present moment. Sometimes, what we call impatience is a distorted perception of an inner knowing that a change or an action is indeed required. The key is discernment. Is this urge to act coming from a place of resistance to the now, or from a deeper intuitive prompting that is in harmony with the unfolding of life? When action is born from presence, from an acceptance of what is, it carries a different quality. It is not driven by the need to escape the present or to control the future. Instead, it is a conscious participation in the dance of life. The restless energy, once identified and understood, can then be channeled constructively. It can become the fuel for taking the necessary steps, making a decision, or expressing something that needs to be expressed. The key difference is that action is now taken from a place of inner stillness and clarity, rather than from the agitated state of mind that typically accompanies unexamined impatience. Thus, the energy itself is transformed from a source of stress into a catalyst for conscious, purposeful engagement with life. When we observe the arising of impatience within ourselves, the frustration with delays, the irritation with others' perceived slowness or mistakes, we are witnessing a fundamental aspect of the human condition, the ego's struggle with the present moment. By bringing awareness to our own impatience without judgment, we begin to understand its roots, the unmet expectations, the desire for control, the fear of not getting what we want, or of losing what we have. This self-understanding is the very foundation for developing genuine compassion for others. When you find yourself feeling impatient with another person, pause. Recognize that the same mechanism at play within you is likely at play within them. They too are perhaps caught in their own mind-made narratives, their own anxieties, their own resistance to the now. This recognition does not necessarily mean condoning undesirable behavior, but it allows you to see beyond the surface irritation to the shared human tendency to get lost in thought and reactivity. Your impatience with them, then, becomes a mirror reflecting your own potential for such states. This shift in perspective transforms the interaction. Instead of meeting their apparent impatience or inefficiency with your own reactive impatience, you might find a space opening within you for understanding, for empathy. You realize that their struggle is, in essence, your struggle. This shared vulnerability, when acknowledged, can dissolve the barriers the ego loves to erect. Impatience with another, when met with this conscious awareness, thus becomes an unexpected call to connect on a deeper human level, to offer presence rather than judgment, and to cultivate a compassion that embraces the imperfections inherent in our shared journey. Perhaps the most profound gift of impatience, when recognized and met with awareness, is its capacity to serve as an immediate and powerful reminder to return to the now, even if no further action is taken. The arising of that familiar tension, that inner hurry, that mental agitation, can become like a bell of mindfulness, signaling that you have drifted away from the present moment. It indicates that the mind has become lost in projections of the future, what should happen, what you want to happen, or in ruminations about the past, what should have been different. In that instant of recognizing impatience, you have a choice. You can continue to be swept away by the current of reactive thought and emotion, or you can use the sensation itself as an anchor, pulling you back to the only time there ever is, this present moment. Simply notice the impatience, feel it in your body, observe the thoughts that accompany it, and then gently redirect your attention to your breath, to the sensations in your hands or feet, to the sounds around you. Step out of the storyline the mind is creating and into the direct experience of being here, now. Each time impatience arises and you consciously use it as a trigger to return to presence, you are weakening the habitual patterns of the ego and strengthening your connection to your deeper self, to being. It is no longer an enemy to be fought but a faithful messenger constantly calling you back home to the timeless peace of the now. Over time, this practice transforms your relationship with impatience entirely. It becomes less of a disturbance and more of a subtle signal, a gentle nudge, reminding you that life is only ever happening in this eternal present, and that true freedom is found not in changing the circumstances, but in changing your state of consciousness. So, we see that impatience, this often maligned guest, is not inherently good or bad. It simply is. Like any experience, its value lies in how we meet it. When met with unconsciousness, it fuels frustration and separation. But when met with awareness, with the light of presence, it transforms into a profound teacher. It becomes a mirror reflecting our hidden attachments, urging us to look deeper at what truly binds us. It sharpens our discernment, helping us distinguish between the ego's frantic demands and the quiet call to aligned action. It invites us into the practice of surrender, deepening our trust in the unfolding of life. This teacher, Impatience, also has the power to expand our hearts. By recognizing its workings within us, we cultivate a more profound compassion for others, seeing their struggles as a reflection of our own. And most vitally, Impatience can serve as a constant, immediate reminder to return to the sanctuary of the present moment, the only place where true peace and freedom can be found. It is an invitation to step out of the illusory narratives of past and future and to inhabit the vibrant reality of the now. Therefore, I invite you to ask, whenever impatience arises, what is this moment, this feeling trying to show me? What am I being invited to release, to accept, to understand? Let this inquiry be your guide. Perhaps today can be the day you decide that impatience, irritation, or frustration will no longer unconsciously dictate your state of being. Instead, let them become signals, allies on your path, guiding you ever more deeply into the peace and power of the present moment. While I thank you for joining us today at our watering hole, I ask that you kindly send this video to anyone you know struggling with the terror of impatience. That may be the greatest life-changing gift you ever give them. For you, keep practicing and building a better you until we meet again. And keep on being renewed. Every day. On all levels.